time.
Okay.
Good morning, good afternoon, good whatever time of day it is. Thank you for tuning in to Conversations with Dr. Don. We had a little technical difficulty getting going, but now I think we're going. So thank you for tuning in. For your first-time viewers, Conversations with Dr. Don is an ongoing series of 1-hour standalone talk shows where I interview interesting people like most of you out there about who they are as unique, one-of-a-kind individuals and about whatever it is that we have decided to talk about. Tonight we're going to be talking about social justice concerns at a Unitarian Universalist fellowship, and we'll talk some more about that, what that title means when my guests and I get chatting about what's going on here. My first guest I want to introduce is John Riles, and next to John is Megan.
Denise.
Denise. Denise Bush, and next to her is Megan Esler. And I didn't have all the names on pretty good, so I apologize for that. But we're going to have a real good time because WHUF, W-H-U-U-F, that's the acronym for West Hills Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. Say a few words about WHUF, if you will.
Well, West Hills Unitarian Universalist Fellowship is a small congregation located right near Washington Square. We have about 140 members.
That's in Portland.
That's correct. And we are lay-led. That is, we have a very active group of people that lead the fellowship. We also have the services of a part-time minister, Sarah Scher.
Yes, you don't need any big-time important head honcho to manage things for you, do you?
Well, we always enjoy being able to have guest speakers that are from other Unitarian Universalist churches or other parts of the community that have important topics to talk about.
Yeah, well, I was a member of the fellowship some years ago for about 3 years, and then I got involved with the humanists. And some people say that humanists and Unitarians are very similar, and similar enough where I could switch back and forth. But I miss coming over to the fellowship. You have a fine bunch of people there.
You're always welcome.
Here in Portland, and I'll be coming back. So thank you.
All right.
As you know, the show goes in two parts. The first part is bio parts, the bio section where we talk about who you are personally, so that the viewers have an idea where you're coming from when you talk about whatever it is we're talking about tonight, the social justice issues. So who shall I talk to first? Have you been on before?
I have not been on your show before.
Okay, let's start with you. You look
Okay.
like a good pigeon.
Sure.
Yeah. And what's your full name?
John Riles, R-I-L-E-S,
Is there a middle name?
R-O-W-E-N. It's the name of a tree that grows in Wales,
Oh,
and that kind of harkens back to some family history.
we've got to spend an hour with you. We'll get back to you. Yeah. So, when and where were you born?
I was born in California in 1944, and actually I first became acquainted with Unitarian Universalism in California when I lived there.
What part of California did you live in?
Southern California.
Southern California.
Yeah.
The LA area, Pasadena?
You know, all over the LA basin.
Me
at
too.
one time or another.
I was in LA from 1950 until about 18 years ago when I moved up here.
Okay.
So I've lived all over Southern California.
I've lived here now for 34 years. I've been here longer than I was there. So I'm a semi-native.
Okay. And I always have a trick question for my guests, and I can ask you the trick question now or surprise you with it. What's your pleasure?
I guess that has to be your choice, otherwise it isn't a trick.
Okay. We've talked about when and where you were born. Why were you born?
Well, that is a trick question. Frankly, that is, I know I should be exploring that, being a Unitarian Universalist, but
All right.
frankly, Don, I don't know. I start with ground zero there.
Yeah. All right. So let's continue on. Now I got a trick question for either you two. Okay.
That's no fair. They get an opportunity to prepare for this.
Maybe we don't get the same trick question.
No. Anything significant about your national or cultural heritage? And you mentioned Wales, didn't you? Anything significant that's worth telling our guests about your cultural heritage?
Well, I don't really identify too much specifically with Wales, but in my background, there was a strong current throughout my family and family's history of valuing service, particularly community service, being together as a community. And, that started with the Great Depression back in the 30s when my folks and other members of the family felt very strongly that they needed to develop a value of supporting each other in the community. And I think that carried through throughout my life. My father and mother were both involved in social service.
So you've got a history of this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a religious preference today other than your Unitarianism?
Well, I am pretty strongly, I feel strongly identified with Unitarian Universalism. We do not have a credo that members have to subscribe to. We're encouraged to develop our own sets of beliefs. And personally, I draw quite a bit on Zen Buddhism as well as the positive elements of the Christian heritage.
Did you have an earlier religious affiliation that you got away from?
My parents both were members of First Christian Church, which is a pretty fundamentalist type of denomination. But again, at the time when they were involved in that, it was one that had a strong sense of community with the larger world as well as their own church community. When I was a junior high kid, my mom in particular wanted to take me around to different congregations to experience what different churches had to offer. And frankly, at that time, I just wasn't that motivated. I wasn't that interested in it. I saw a lot of kids that were behaving the same way that they did at school or wherever, and they weren't terribly interested in the religious aspect of that. But I, by chance, happened to have an early experience with Unitarians, and they were discussing real-world issues about what we face today. And in particular, I attended a conversation with regard to the atomic bomb at the time, which was a pretty scary thing. But they brought their sense of values to it, and I kind of made a bookmark at that time that here's some people that were, real world in their focus, and were bringing their values to discussing that issue.
Yeah, and it just occurred to me that I'm doing a survey of about 12 years old about how people arrive at where they are in their life as far as social justice and social responsibility. Yeah. See if I can make an association between their religious affiliation in early life and how their mom and dad treated them, and if they got beat up, or never mind it. Do you have a partner, a husband, a wife, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, somebody like that?
I have a wife. Her name is Suzanne, and we have a couple of kids, a young man and a young woman. The young man lives here locally and is married. Our daughter lives in Brooklyn. She is a rising painter back there, an artist, and she recently got married as well in a Unitarian church in Manhattan.
Do they like you?
Yeah, I think so. We have good.
Look at that camera there and tell them how you feel about them.
Well, I love them, all three of them, my wife and the kids, and their partners as well. I love them very much.
Okay. How about your political persuasion? Are you left, right, center, or what?
I'm a liberal in an old-fashioned sense. I hear people talk about Democrats.
Rick, my camera person there, yells at me all the time because he says I have too many liberals on the show. I'm going to get some Tea Partiers like you on.
Actually, I am an old-fashioned liberal. I think
So
that
am I.
a lot of what now is described as flaming liberals and whatnot are really middle of the road. And back in Nixon's time or some of the other Republican presidents would be thought of as very middle of the road, what we are currently calling liberal. And I consider myself to be much more liberal than that.
Oh, I feel more comfortable now. I was kind of nervous before. Yeah, the countdown clock isn't working, Mr. E. Okay. Memberships in political, social, or civic organizations that may be of interest to the viewers. You belong to any organizations other than WOOF?
Well, I do belong to WOOF. I also do quite a bit of activity at First Unitarian Church in downtown Portland.
Yeah.
I don't belong there. I do sing with choir. They have a marvelous music program at
Yes,
First
they do,
Unitarian
yeah.
Church. And they also have a very vigorous social justice program there. And I consider them to be quite a good resource for the Portland area. And I attend a lot of meetings
Yeah.
as well. Other associations, well, I have been doing some campaign work for Democrats here, and actually I went, in 2008, I went back to St. Louis to campaign back in St. Louis, and this time around I am campaigning for some candidates here in Oregon.
Okay, I'm aware we've got two more people to go through here before we go to the second half, so we better move on. Who is going to be questioned by me next?
I will be happy to be questioned.
Yeah. Hey, and what is your name?
Megan Essler.
Esther. And I can't ask you when you were born because that's not too cool. but
You're welcome to. 1951.
51.
A great year because we graduated from high school in 1969. We all think we are cool.
And where were you born?
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
If I were to ask your best friend, who is
Presently or when I was in high school?
right now? Who are you? She would say, or he would say.
I'm sorry, you are asking the name of my best friend or
No,
what my best
if I would
friend?
ask your best friend, who Megan is it?
Yes.
Who is Megan? What would your best friend say?
She would say, I am a teacher, first
She's
of all.
Megan is.
Megan is a teacher.
Uh-huh.
She's a good teacher. She's very responsible, and she follows through.
Okay, that sounds good. And religious preference.
Unitarian Universalism.
What were you before?
I was confirmed in the Presbyterian Church when I was 13.
And your formal education?
I went to college, and then I got a certificate of teaching English to speakers of other languages.
And your partner? You have a husband?
I do have a husband. His name is Ron Apple, and I have 2 daughters.
What a neat name.
Yes, I know. It's a great name.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have a daughter, Lydia, who's 32, and a social worker living in Oakland, California, and another daughter, Cordelia, who is working and studying to be a nutritional therapist, and she lives at home now.
All these people helpers are caring folk. There's something universalist about people like you, yeah, or like us, if I may. Yeah, I'm an old-fashioned left-wing liberal of the old stripe. We asked you about your political persuasion. Need I ask that, or is it obvious?
Well, I am a liberal, and I usually vote with the Democratic Party, and I'm also a union representative for the PCC Faculty Federation, and so most of my political involvement has been with phone banks and things that the union sets up.
Okay. I was a union steward many moons ago before I became a psychologist.
Ah.
So I'm a pro-union person too. Any persons alive today or from the past that you particularly admired or look up to? Any names come to mind?
Many, actually.
Name a couple.
John Muir, Mahatma Gandhi, our president, current president, Obama. Boy, I could go on and on.
Okay, that's enough.
Okay.
So, can you make me smile?
I think I already did.
She turned that one on me. All right, let us move on then to Denise.
I can make you smile. You told me your daughter's name was Denise, so you know about the old uncle they gave him the honor of naming the twins, and he called one Denise and the other the nephew.
That's going to make me groan.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Good. So, when and where were you born?
1953 in Louisville, Kentucky.
Louisville, Kentucky. And how long have you been away from Kentucky?
Well, let's see. I was there probably about 25 years, and in Indiana, 17 years, and been here about 15 years. I think that adds up somewhere in there. Spent a year in Africa working, and so
In
there's
Africa?
other, yeah.
What'd you do in Africa?
I'm a nurse, so I worked as a nurse
Another
there.
people helper.
Yeah,
Well, you got social justice here.
yeah.
And you're working now?
Yes, I'm a nurse practitioner.
Nurse
Yeah.
practitioner. Oh, my hat's off to you.
Thank you.
We need
Yeah.
more like you, yeah.
Yeah.
You have private practice, you work for an organization?
No, I work for Willamette Family Medical Center in Salem, and we service a lot of underserved folks, and it's a great privilege to work there. I love it. Yeah.
Okay, people helpers, yeah. Children?
We have two sons. Yeah.
And you got a husband who was-
Yes.
Yeah. And your political persuasion?
Pretty liberal.
I'm sorry, Rick. This has been going on for 12 years.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Any memberships in social organizations or political organizations that are worth mentioning?
Well, I'd like to say that actually Megan and I are both proud Raging Grannies. We belong to the Portland Raging Grannies.
Yay!
Yeah. Neither of us are actual grandmothers, but you don't have to be an actual grandmother to be a Raging Granny. So yeah. It's a social activist group, and we're singing and performing at a lot of rallies and events. And
We need more groups like the Raging Grannies
Yeah.
nowadays.
yeah,
I'm not sure if we can get enough groups with enough clout to counter the effects of Citizens United and the Tea Partiers and those kinds of people. So, no, I'm not supposed to be on my soapbox now, so I'll just shut that down.
it's okay.
Any persons from the past or alive today that you particularly admire or look up to?
Gandhi. I've always loved Gandhi.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, ditto, yeah.
So
And I have a T-shirt that says, "My heroes: Jesus, Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Che Guevara, Fidel Castro." And by the time a lot of people get down halfway through my list, they look at me and they get all confused. But I say to them, these were all lovers of humanity and kind, caring human beings, whatever else you might think they were. I'm a humanist, of course, you know. And I have fun with it. I'm a protester from the era of the Vietnam War. And so anyhow, I'm on my soapbox again. So let's take an early break, and then we have so much to talk about. Can we do that, Mr. E? So the mic's going to be off for this. I call him. We're talking about the Justice Party and Rocky Anderson, who's running as a presidential candidate. And I call the Justice Party a 21st century reincarnation of Nader's activities in Nader's party. But I guess the Green Party is getting more publicity than the Justice Party as an alternative to the two corporate parties. But let's go back after I introduce this half of the show. For you viewers who missed the opening of the show, Conversations with Dr. Don is an ongoing series of one-hour standalone talk shows where I interview interesting people like most of you out there about who they are as unique, one-of-a-kind individuals and about whatever it is we have decided to talk about. And tonight we're talking about social justice concerns at a Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. We're talking about a particular one called WHOOF, West Hills Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. And now we will start off with the second half, and we're going to let John take us into part two.
Okay, thank you. Well, I wanted to say at the start that we represent the Social Justice Committee at West Hills Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. We do not represent the congregation or the church. And that's important because as Unitarian Universalists, we have one of our principles saying that there's the right of individual conscience that all members have. And there are, in our fellowship, many people feel that they do not want to be represented by a social justice committee that takes a stand on a particular issue or goes out and performs some particular act, that in order to make it a stand or an act for the congregation, it would have to be voted upon. It'd have to be discussed and voted upon. So tonight and in most of our actions, we represent the committee, not the whole congregation.
So good, that's pretty clear to me. Now, there's so many things that can be covered, so where shall we start? Who's going to lead off talking about their primary concerns? I've got some questions that I have put together here, and I'm not sure that they'll be adequate, and I've got some cards from you with questions that you're concerned about.
Well, I could
what is
kind of frame
what is
what
social?
we're doing.
Yes, go ahead,
there.
please.
Social justice really is organized in our committee to focus on what we call coalitions and programs. Those are long-term, enduring kinds of studies and focus on action in different areas. And then we also have a number of events that take place during the year. And Megan and Denise are leading a couple of the coalitions. And I think it's, those are major areas where we focus our efforts. And in addition to the areas that they're particularly interested in, we also have coalitions that are forming around water and water security issues and around undocumented persons' rights. Our minister happens to be quite interested in that latter topic. But I'm going to really turn it over to Megan and Denise to talk about their coalition activities.
We need a couple of hours for each one of those if we're going in
Yes, you
depth.
do,
Yeah.
True.
So who will start and talk about what you're primarily interested in?
Okay. The coalition that I'm co-leading is on food scarcity and hunger issues. And we came up for the different topics of and the formation of coalitions because we felt it was a more effective way to engage people. We formerly had a hard time. People were out there doing things and a lot of great work was being done, but they didn't see it as being focused around what WOOF was doing, and we wanted to encourage people to do more and to work together on projects. So we did some work and we did some surveys of finding out what people were concerned about and thought that we should focus on. And when we got the responses, we found out hunger was something that a large majority of people, or a large minority of people, felt we should be focused on, we should be giving money to, and we should be doing things locally for hunger issues. And that worked with things that we had been doing. We've been collecting food for food bank, but we just had no idea that this was so important to people. So we really decided to form these smaller coalitions, because when people want to do work, they want to work. They don't want to go to committee meetings. So the Social Justice Committee meeting is actually very small, but the people we have who want to do things are a larger bunch of people.
And these are all WOLF members. You said
Yes, yes,
coalitions.
these are members. But the interesting thing is that many times we get brand new members, or even just visitors, because they come, they see, wow, there's something happening right here. They sometimes are looking for a way to engage. They may be new to the community, or this may be a new part of their life that they want to take charge in.
Sure.
So the Food Coalition last year just started a year ago, and we spent the fall kind of looking into what else we could be doing besides donating money to the food bank.
What'd you come up with?
And donating food, of course. We donate a lot of food. Well, first we looked into a church, a coalition of churches in Beaverton that serves a hot meal once a week, and we looked into that. Didn't quite work. They didn't need as many people right now, so kind of put that on the back burner. Then we contacted a school that was starting a food backpack program, and they were just starting out, and they really needed us. And we had thought that they would begin in May, but they didn't get their funding, so actually they will be beginning in October. But it was good to be on the ground floor with this program, because it's through a group called Impact Northwest, and they run the SUN program, which is after school. It's a nonprofit that does things in the Portland Public Schools after school and before school, and tries to support the schools with community outreach and programs. When they come out to, they've been working inner city, but recently they've realized that their needs are expanding to outside of the Portland Public Schools. So when they moved out into the Washington County schools, they changed their acronym. Now they're SHINE, not SUN. I don't know exactly why, but anyway. So now they're called SHINE programs, and they've been working with one particular school they started with, the Barnes School on 147th and Walker Road. And they've had very good relationships there. The school is about 80% federally supported lunch participants, a very high number of second language learners, and a lot of need in the school, but very good community response from the parents and so on. So they've been there a couple years doing after school programs, but they were aware that a lot of kids eat their federally funded breakfast and federally funded lunch, and weekend is a long time before breakfast.
Yeah.
So they put together, and they've been doing a program in Portland Public Schools for a number of years, but this is the first time they've tried it out in Washington County. And this month of September, they're doing a lot of research and getting signed forms back from families saying how many people are in the families, what are the needs, and so on. They got Nike to donate 120 beautiful, tough backpacks. And there's another Catholic church across the street that has their own food pantry that will actually be filling most of the backpacks. And then there's a Baptist church that has their food pantry that will be filling some of the backpacks. We were not sure what we could do. We're a small organization. We don't have our own food pantry. We don't really have a place to store food. But then they turned to us and said, what we really need are people there on Friday afternoon to hand out the backpacks, to check off that the right kid gets the right backpack, because different kids have different size families, so they get more or less food. They get tuna fish, rice, beans, peanut butter, just basic food for the weekend. And then, of course, the backpacks have to come back. That has to be checked off, but they really want us to work on Friday afternoons. So,
is there more hunger now than there was in the past?
Hunger is always with us, and it's just that this idea of oh my gosh, what happens over the weekend, frankly, didn't occur to people, and now they have become very aware that families have a real scarcity problem for those 2 days, and this is an attempt to meet some of those needs.
Yeah, of course, hunger is always with us, but I think it varies depending on the administration and what's going on in Washington and other factors involved. But from my information, that we're having more people having a hard time putting bread on the table and paying the rent. And my hunch is that, from what I'm hearing, that the economic situation is such that there is indeed more hunger than there was, say, 10 or 12 or 20 years ago even.
I think that's accurate. And the other thing that we've found out from working with Impact Northwest is that we also have to have an alternative backpack for people who don't have homes. Mm-hmm. So we need to have, we can't send rice and beans home. We have to have pop-top fruit cocktail and granola bars and things that can be eaten in a car or somewhere else. So we have to have an alternate menu for people who don't have cooking privileges.
That's quite a chore that you're involved with there.
Well, it's very exciting, I think, because, and I think what's exciting is that we got in on the ground level and we really are working with these two young staffers who have I went already and visited Barnes, and they have a great relationship with the staff and the parents there, and the things they have going for the kids to help out is truly impressive. And our WOOF members have really been signing up just very encouragingly, and they keep saying, we don't want to go to any meetings. And it's like, fine, we promise, no meetings. The only thing you have to do is what you commit to do, a couple hours a week. We started this summer, and because we couldn't get into the Barnes program, they didn't have it going this summer. So but people were all geared up to do something. So we contacted the Beaverton School District and the Park District, because they distribute free lunches at different parks during the summer. And they also needed volunteers, again, just to pass out the lunches in an orderly way to these kids. And we got a lot of people who had never done anything like that before and said it was really good, and they felt it was really needed. At some of these parks, especially, the kids looked like that food was important to them. So that was a good kind of entree into this fall program that we hope to be involved with for many years to come.
Yeah. That's commendable. Did any of you ever experience any hunger times in your childhood? Of course, at my age, I was in the Great Depression, so it's more likely that I would have experienced some belt-tightening times as a kid in the 30s, yeah. But you all look like you're very comfortable middle-class people who never went without a minimal meal, at least, huh?
I didn't have any problems with Denise. Have you ever had any?
Yeah, so it's commendable that you can do the work you're doing since you've not really lived that kind of a life yourself. Mm-hmm. It's called empathy, being able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes, however momentarily, to appreciate in the gut what it's like to be hungry and not knowing if you're going to have the next meal. Yeah, I have some memories, and don't stop me. So,
well, and especially working with kids. You know, kids are so vulnerable. You know, they don't have any resources to sell something off. To any resource that an adult might have is probably missing for a young kid. So that especially is powerful for us.
Yeah. So shall you talk about another topic, or shall we move on?
That's my topic.
Oh,
so.
Denise. I remembered.
Well, you should when you have a daughter with the same name.
Shall I go to your cheat cards here
If you
and
want
ask you
to,
some questions?
yeah.
Who are the Raging Grannies?
Oh, we're going to start with the Raging Grannies. Yeah.
Can we start with that?
We sure can. We love to talk about the Raging
I
Grannies.
see them on TV now and then, and they're kicking their head. I love it.
Well, the Portland, Raging Grannies are a social activist group.
International, isn't it?
Yes, it's international, and international. The International Raging Grannies just celebrated their 25th year. Yeah,
I didn't know they'd been around that long.
Yeah, in Vancouver, Canada, and Canada's where it got started. So there are Raging Granny groups all over the world and in many, many cities in the United States. The Portland Raging Grannies, we've been going almost a year now. And one of our members, Natalie Reich, got us started and is coordinating us. And so we perform by singing songs at many rallies and events. And
I've seen you downtown and Occupy.
Yeah, did you see
all
us?
sorts of places.
yeah,
There they are.
there we are. Yeah, and we have a lot of fun when we perform.
Have any men sneaked into your ranks?
The grannies have rules that men are not supposed to be Raging Grannies. However, the Portland Raging Grannies, we have 2 honorary grannies. We say they have to dress. We dress as a parody of grandmothers and vintage clothing and hats and so forth.
Yeah.
And the men have to dress as well. So
And they do, and
they
they
do.
love it.
They love it. Yeah, yeah. And we love them. Yeah.
One of them happens to be 6'4" or something, but he makes a great.
He's been on your program, I think. Don Merrick has been.
He's a raging granny.
Yeah, he's one of our Raging Grannies. So, yeah. And we have the response is usually so favorable, and I love it when the younger protesters respond to us, because they're out there. I guess people are surprised that women of mature age are out there speaking their mind in this way, and our songs can be quite. They're often humorous. Sometimes they're a little shocking or a little naughty, and the young folks, they often yell out, "We love you, grannies. I want to be like you when I grow up." And my response to that is, "I want to be like you when I grow up." And one young man, he wanted his picture made with me and said, I want you to be my grandmother." I thought it was so sweet. So we enjoy it. And I think too that Raging Grannies promote nonviolence, and so when we're out at a rally where people can get carried away, people are angry and have a right to be, but I believe that sometimes that they transfer certain feelings to us, maybe that like a positive feeling that maybe they had a positive relationship with their grandmother, or they want a positive relationship with an older adult, and that they transfer that feeling to us. And I think hopefully we give off some sense of security, and maybe help with things not getting violent. I don't know. I like to believe that.
Sure.
But yeah, so.
Why is there a need for Raging Grannies nowadays?
Yeah.
Why do we have a Raging Grannies as popular as they are now?
Yeah.
Is there something going on with our country and our system, or our democracy, or what? You see where I'm going?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I believe that our democracy is in danger, and I believe it's threatened. And so I believe we need to be out there raging, and we need to be speaking out for the environment, for marriage equality, for women's rights and women's sexual rights, against corporate personhood and all those things. And it's not. And like I say, I believe that when we're out there, people pay attention because we certainly stand out.
Well, they also smile.
Smile, they do.
Yeah. And we don't write the music. We use just good old standards. So it's music that everybody knows the melody to. We just write or use other Raging Granny words to it. So we really try to articulate the words because that's the message. And we practice, actually, even though these are very common tunes, because we sometimes have little gestures. We are really trying to communicate this message in an informative but entertaining way. So that's part of our...
Do you have a particularly popular song that you do? You give me a couple of bars from it?
We have many songs, yeah.
Which one that's pretty catchy? That
Oh, well, we didn't bring the words. There's one, if you look, if you Google it, our sisters in another city did one recently called Legitimate Rape, which was, well, when the Congressman Aiken, you know, made those ridiculous statements about women. They did a YouTube on that, so that's a very good one. We're going to talk about corporate personhood. I don't know if you want to sing a song on.
Well, why don't you go
amend and
talk
come-
about corporate personhood? Then
Okay.
it will be so much more.
I'm asking all the questions, but if you want to chip in here and ask a question or comment, please do, because it's our show. All of us
Okay.
want to make a good show.
Yeah, great job. But you know what occurs to me is that Raging Grannies could be the subject of a whole program. Material.
We
And
do.
It generates a lot of material too.
Yeah.
So you were going to talk about corporate personhood.
Well, we
now?
can talk a little bit about that, and we sing a lot of songs about corporate personhood, so maybe we could sing a little bit of a song.
We could.
Will ya?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit of one.
Well, that got us started. That was where we in Portland, though we're a little behind the ball. I mean, the rest, I don't know. I'm surprised because Portland feels like such a activist city, and yet 24 years they've been having these other Raging Granny groups. Corvallis beat us out by 10 years or
Corvallis,
something.
Raging Grannies have been doing it for about 10 years.
Corvallis.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so,
Portland is
great.
supposedly left coast for sure. Huh?
yeah, I don't know. But
We met the Corvallis Raging Grannies when we sang at the rally against the war on women in Salem, and it was
They were
a
great.
delight to meet them. And they have a member, it's in her 90s, and it was just a real inspiration to.
But corporate
be with them.
personhood is what grabbed us
Yeah,
at Wolf
right.
to start, because
Yeah.
that one just seemed so outrageous.
Well, yeah, our committee is interested in the corporate personhood issue and educating people about that. And corporate personhood has a long history in this country.
Well, the Supreme Court has said that corporations are persons.
Yes.
And isn't the Supreme Court the final judge of what is or isn't? I have a quarrel with that.
yeah,
A little bit. We have a little bit of a quarrel with that. Yeah. So they have given corporations the same rights as me and you, and this has caused a lot of problems, and I believe has threatened our democracy. In that,
So do I.
yeah, and so they get these favors and these advantages, and then they are now allowed to give as much money as they want to campaigns.
Isn't money the same as speech?
Well, that's what the Supreme Court claimed, isn't it, in 2010? And
It's so outrageous to even consider that rational
it is
people
outrageous. It
can
is
go
outrageous.
along with that.
Yeah.
And why is it that people are not protesting more about corporate personhood?
I don't. That's a good question.
well, I think
Yeah.
partly we think is they don't understand what that means. So a lot of what we've been doing is just trying to explain.
Why? My favorite word in the English language, why don't people understand what it really means? Do you have you thought about that? Why?
Yes.
Why?
Yeah.
What's your answer when you ask the question? Why don't people understand what corporate personhood really means?
Well, I think it's legally a little complicated. I mean, it really is, and I think that people are not lawyers. They are really not sure of what this means. It seems complex. It seems in some other sphere, so they're not aware of the very direct effect that has on their lives.
Well, I think that there are dog whistle messages involved, and people don't protest more because they've been conditioned to consider other things in their life more important than corporate personhood. Corporate personhood is less important than maybe a bunch of Mexicans coming over the border here, or we got a black president, and other things like
Yes.
that. The media is complicit in our democracy crumbling and the empire disappearing. It may take 20 or 30 years, but it's going to go the way of the Roman Empire, the British Empire. Oh, I'm on my soapbox again.
Yeah. I'm captivated.
Corporate personhood. And, I belong to the Alliance for Democracy, and
Good,
we've
yeah.
got another group there that's
Yeah.
working pretty hard
Yeah.
on corporate personhood.
Yeah. Yeah. I know you've had David Delk on your program, I believe, from the Alliance.
David's my buddy.
Oh,
yeah.
he's wonderful.
Fantastic.
And of course, he's taught me everything I know about corporate personhood and the move to amend the Constitution to abolish corporate personhood and money as free speech. And
Do you go to the Move to Amend meetings?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, I go sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But he's David Delk. Hey, good guy.
Yeah.
Move to Amend. Are we going to manage to amend the Constitution?
Well, there is some momentum. 7 states have now passed resolutions saying that we want to get rid of corporate personhood and money as free speech. And the City of Portland this year passed a resolution stating
Yes.
that as well. And some of the cities in Portland are actually putting that to the vote of the people. It's been put on the ballot as an initiative, and I think Corvallis, Eugene, Ashland, and then some other cities will be voting on that. And some cities have already voted on it, like Missoula and Boulder, Colorado, and some others. And what happens is that it passes overwhelmingly, that people want to amend the Constitution to get rid of this. And to me, I believe once people are educated about it, they get it. I believe they get it. And I'm hoping that, you know, that their voting for that gives them some sense of empowerment.
I agree with what you're saying, with the one exception I mentioned earlier. If they are following a priority that puts something else ahead of, unconsciously, of course, I'm a psychologist, you know,
Yes.
then they will sometimes say, what happened? How this happened? I didn't vote for that, but you voted in a way such that that assumed a priority in the real world, and now you're ending up looking at the money in the political process and the lobbyists in Washington whose voice speaks louder than ordinary citizens. And you know who Chris Hedges is? The old-fashioned leftist radical, and Howard Zinn and Daniel Ellsberg and those kinds of characters. And he's pretty depressing to read. He's brilliant, of course. And he thinks the empire is going down the tubes, and we're too far along to. And someone suggested that power is never given up. It has to be taken. I got another shirt that says, when injustice becomes law, revolution becomes duty. You should follow me around sometimes when I'm in Fred Meyer's.
With that T-shirt?
Oh, yeah. I have a whole collection through the years, and I really have a good time. And now and then I have somebody who gets really mad. And the other day, I had a guy in Fred Meyer's. He wouldn't face me directly, but he was walking by and he was mumbling, and he said something to me, and I yelled back at him. But more often than not, people feel good about doing my little tiny bit to have people become aware of what's going on and why it is that they're fighting to have their life and their children's lives be better in the future. But I'm on my soapbox again. Stop me, John. So corporate personhood, and what else can we say about that? Anything else?
Well, I mean, I guess I'm hoping that if people haven't already signed petitions, that they will, you know, they can get online with Move to Amend or movetoamend.org or Portland Move to Amend, and at least sign a petition and support moving to amend the Constitution and having dialogue about it.
Yes. Can we talk about the election coming up, the presidential election, or shall we talk some more about stuff to do with social action?
I'd like to talk some more about the social action at West Hills.
Let's do that.
Of course, I just love to talk about the election coming up, you know, and great fan of Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert as well.
Yeah.
Never miss them. I think they're just marvelous.
So we'll talk about what you want to talk about.
At West Hills, we don't focus on elections or on particular candidates. You know, that's outside the scope of a church-based social action committee. So
because then they'll start taxing you differently.
tax.
You lose the
yes, we
501c3.
lose- right. So in addition to these coalitions, these are just two of the coalitions that we have going. We have a couple of others. I mentioned earlier that we're forming coalitions around water issues and also around detention of undocumented persons.
Yes.
Our Reverend Sarah Schur went to Phoenix recently. We have a national conference every year of Unitarian Universalists, and it was held in Phoenix specifically for the fact that they could focus on the justice issues connected to undocumented persons. And the participants in this conference went to some of the detention camps, and the person that runs the detention camp refers to them as concentration camps, his concentration camps. And boy, he's right on the money. They are just deplorable conditions. Now, whether or not you feel that people that are undocumented should be deported or should face the legal consequences of their legal status, holding people in concentration-like camp settings is just not American. That is really outside of American values to mistreat people that way.
It's not humane.
It is not humane, and it isn't legal. But they escape the consequences of that by saying that they are detained. They're not arrested, so they don't have legal rights. They can't consult a lawyer. They don't have habeas corpus. They're being detained, and the conditions of this detention is just incredible.
Yeah.
That's an area of concern that our minister brought back to the congregation, and we're looking at what in Oregon we can do, except be very sympathetic about that. Don Merrick was mentioned a little while ago, and he was instrumental in our Green Sanctuary program. Green Sanctuary program is something that is organized by Unitarian Universalist Association, and as that part of that program, we developed a project that had 11 different elements that were all aimed at improving the sustainability of our congregation and also improving the sustainability of the lives of the congregant members. So we did a lot to improve our practices and conditions at West Hills during that period of time. And we were able to get the certification from the Unitarian Universalist Association as being a green sanctuary. But, you know, this is another program, and I mentioned we have a steady string of events throughout the year, including Solve or Earth Day events or Pride Parade, which is always a very popular activity to engage in.
We've got about 2 minutes left before they yell at me to sign off.
Well, we just have, I've listed here 9 different things that we've done in the last year along those lines of social justice. And, you know, then we could go on and on about other things that we're doing in the social justice area as well. So I just wanted to indicate that we have a lot of things going. Megan and Denise have done a great job addressing areas of their particular concern as well. But, you know, we can go on to another program, I think, with the
We will
things
go
we're
on
doing
to
as well.
another program, and I won't be so disorganized as I was, and I apologize for that. So any final words or thought you want to convey to the viewers about whatever is on your mind, what we talked about or whatever. So look at the camera and tell them what your thought is. Is that the camera?
Well, I can recruit some raging grannies. We like mature women who have open minds, and you do not have to be a good singer.
And you don't have to have grandkids.
And you don't have to be an actual
Do you have to
grandmother.
have white gloves?
Well, we do. It's not required, but we do like to wear our white gloves when we perform.
And
yeah.
go to the website we showed you on the screen, or go to John Ryle's email address, and and they'll direct you how to.
There is.
All right,
at
Portland
that
Grannies,
website-
portlandgrannies@gmail.com if you want.
PortlandGrannies@gmail.com.
You want to contact the grannies.
Okay, you have a comment, Megan?
No, I think I told everything I have to say.
How about you,
I
John?
neglected to mention that the chairperson of our social justice committee is Pat Tangeman. And we have a committee of, about 8 or 10 people that regularly attend, but we draw upon the resources of the many people at West Hills that share our social concerns, social justice concerns.
All right, looks like it's time to close. So I want to say thank you for tuning in and thank you for coming on. And we'll have you on again in the near future because there's more stuff we can talk about. Keep your pens and pencils handy because we may have something in the closing credits that you might want to make note of. But I have a few public service announcements that I always like to talk about. To get my local broadcast schedule, go to my website and click on present day activities. And the next public service announcement I want to tell you about is to get my show on the web. For those of you who are watching in other parts of the country, go to my website again and click on favorite links. And the ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union, I've been a member of the ACLU for 40,000 years, I think. It's wonderful. Civil liberties are really in jeopardy nowadays, so we need to protect them with the American Civil Liberties Union. And to get my show broadcast by other stations, ask your local public access station to go to www.pegmedia.org, and they will tell you how to have your local public access station broadcast from that station. So instead of going to my website only. End corporate personhood, you like that? Go to movetoamend.org and end corporate personhood. Do we have anything more for PSAs or not? Oh, I was supposed to say thanks for watching, and indeed, thank you so much for watching, and thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
And remember KFC.
Kentucky.
Not Kentucky Fried Chicken. Dr. Don's KFC.
Oh, I fell for it.
Kind, friendly,
Charitable.
and charitable. Yay, we got it. Be kind, be friendly, and be charitable. To you too, and you too, and you too. Thanks again for watching. Good night.